Please welcome our speaker, Ms. Doreen Thorpe, Senior Assistant Director of Admission International Recruitment, and Ms. Janet Shanley, Director of Graduation Admission from Seattle University.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're very excited to be here today, sharing a little bit of information about Seattle University. And so Janet and I kind of split the time that we have. So I will be talking about our undergraduate programs, and then I'm going to pass it over to Janet to talk more about our graduate programs. I'm also going to give like a brief introduction to our campus. So that is obviously very applicable to either of the programs that you might be interested in. And so if you bear with me for a second, I'm going to start sharing my screen. I hope this all goes smoothly without any technical difficulties. If I could get a thumbs up if you all can see my screen, perfect. So yeah, again, thank you so much for having us. My name is Doreen. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Senior Assistant Director for Admissions for International Recruitment on the undergraduate side. And so again, gonna talk a little bit about Seattle University and what our institution looks like, what it has to offer. And this picture kind of gives you a sense of where we're located within the city of Seattle. So we are in Washington State, which is on the west coast of the United States. We're about a 2-hour drive away from Canada. So we're kind of up north. And yeah, we're located in beautiful Seattle, Washington, and we are one of 27 Jesuit institutions. So there are 27 Jesuit institutions within the United States, and the Jesuits are a chapter of the Catholic Church, but they're first and foremost seen as educators. So you do not have to identify as a Catholic to attend our institution. The traditions and kind of the ethos around the Jesuits is really what makes our campus kind of unique. And so to just name a couple of things, we pay attention to educating the whole person. So making sure that your body, mind, and spirit is being educated. And the Jesuits also have a very strong connection to social justice efforts. So that is just something that you're going to experience on our campus, similar to the community engagement piece. So again, kind of that Jesuit philosophy that we practice on our campus makes students or encourages students to get involved within their communities. And everyone is part of different communities. And so that might look a little bit different for each and every single one of you, but we do encourage students to get involved on campus, in the different neighborhoods in the city of Seattle. And then, yeah, hopefully you kind of take that with you as you go out into the world. We were founded in 1891, so we've been around for quite some time, and we are a small to medium-sized school. So we have a total student population of right around 7,300, and that includes our undergraduate programs, our graduate programs, as well as the law school that we have on campus. So we like to say we're just the right size where you are going to see familiar faces in the crowd, but not to the point where you always see the same people. So there's still a little bit of variety. As you can see, we have a very, very centrally located campus in the city of Seattle. And so to give you a little bit of a sense of where we're located, we are about a 20-minute walk to the downtown area, which you can kind of see on that picture with the high-rise buildings, some of the skyscrapers that we have in the city. But our location is a little bit more residential. So we're still able to provide students with kind of a traditional campus experience, kind of a traditional US campus experience where you have your academic buildings close together, you have residential halls where students stay and live in, all throughout that red outline that you can see on the slide. And then we also have athletic fields, and so where students can play sports and get together and be active. We do require students to live on campus for the first 2 years. That is on the undergraduate side. So if you're looking at earning a bachelor's degree, that is something that you have the option of doing. You're required to do it to an extent. We also have some additional housing options for students who are beyond those 2 years or who are graduate students. So again, just because you are not earning a bachelor's degree does not mean that you can't stay on campus or at least close to campus. So those are a couple of different options that we have available. We are also a very, very green space, especially for our location within the city. And we are actually a certified wildlife sanctuary. That was kind of my favorite fact that I got to learn when I started working at Seattle University. And you sometimes tend to forget that you're actually in a large city when you're on our campus, because it's fairly quiet, it's very green again, and we have a lot of greenery, a lot of I want to call it wildlife. It's mostly birds, but it definitely does have a little bit of a serene feel to it when you spend time on campus. But then if you need the city life, you just go a couple blocks in each directions and you are right in the city. So you have all the perks that come with living in a city, from the great museums and restaurants to shops and parks that we have. And so, yeah, we kind of like to think of the city of Seattle as an extension of our classrooms. So just to give you a sense what that might feel like. Kind of shifting into the academics, again, I will be talking about our undergraduate programs. So anyone who is looking to earn their bachelor's degree, we have small classroom sizes to offer. So a lot of students are really interested in that because it allows for a much more intimate learning environment, and students are able and encouraged really to share their perspective because it is part of the learning experience. The professors, yes, they're going to guide your learning, but you're really someone who is going to actively take part in that learning, in your own learning, but then also the learning of your peers. So sharing, having those discussion-based classroom experiences, that is something that you can experience at Seattle University. Also, 100% of our classes are taught by a faculty member. So what that means is that you have a really nice consistency between the person that you have in the class. It's also the person that you get to see during office hours, and students are really able to develop a relationship with their professors kind of beyond just the classroom learning. And that's really important, especially if you're thinking about professional development. So potentially doing an internship or trying to do research within your field. So that's just something to think about. We have about 65 undergraduate programs across a handful of our colleges that we have on campus. And you can see kind of a list of our popular majors, but they do change from year to year. So last year we had a really big year with political science. We also have a very popular kinesiology program that is sports and exercise science. It's just a fancy word for it. But nursing, computer science, and then also our business programs are usually among the top majors that we offer. Our business analytics program has been becoming really, really popular. And so, yeah, usually there's something for everyone. And so we would definitely recommend you checking out and just kind of getting a sense of what we offer and then what might align with your academic interests. Our programs are direct entry. So that means that if you apply to Seattle University, we're going to place you directly into the program that you want to study. That means that you do not have to reapply after 2 years. That basically allows you to just kind of have a peace of mind that you're directly part of the computer science program. As part of your academics, we also ask every single student to take some university core classes. So those include your language, so an English class, a math class, a social science class, and then also 2 religion studies classes. Again, they're not there to kind of convert you to become a Catholic. They're just there to allow you to expand on your knowledge, either on a religion that you already are familiar with, or maybe explore a religion or spirituality that you are interested in. These classes are designed to kind of make you a global citizen. So just being aware of all the other things that others around you might bring with them, and that includes religion. So we just want to make sure that students kind of have these different outlets or are being pushed a little bit further to learn and to gain new knowledge along the way, because that's what college is for. We also offer pre-professional advising. So if some of you are already thinking about maybe medical school or law school, we have advisors who can kind of help you establish a pathway to that as well. And for anyone who might not know what they want to study, we also have a program that allows you to explore on campus. It's called our pre-major studies. I want to make sure I'm good on time. So gonna move along, but of course happy to answer any additional questions that you might have about the academic piece. So with studying in the US also comes living on your campus. So it's kind of the same space where you learn, where you grow, and where you live. And so student life is a really big important piece in that, because again, you're not just a person in the classroom, you're also someone who has social needs and engagements. Our students are engaged through our student clubs. So those are all student-led and student-run. And that's really where students kind of find their community, the people that they want to spend time with, the people that can support one another, that maybe have similar interests or sports that you like to play. Maybe it's based on your academic interests. There are over 100 different clubs. So usually whatever you might be interested in, we already have. Definitely worth taking a look. We're also a Division I school. That means within the US, there are different divisions, and Division I is the highest. So if you are into showing your school pride, cheering on that basketball team or the soccer team, that is something that we also have. And then I usually like to highlight a couple of our campus traditions. So there's usually always something going on between the clubs that you're involved with. Your residential hall usually puts on a lot of engagement activities as well, from movie nights to trivia to pancake breakfasts. I've heard very, very creative events that they put on, but then also there are a couple traditions that are campus-wide. So that means that students, staff, and faculty kind of engage with one another and come together as a community. It usually starts in the fall with our homecoming. There's a parade involved. There's a basketball game that a lot of people usually go to during the holidays. So in December, we have our tree lighting ceremony. That is definitely a highlight for a lot of students. And then towards the springtime, we actually have a music festival on our campus. So those are just a couple things that are happening throughout the year. But again, there's plenty more involvement on campus as you are moving through your program that you're part of. This is a quick list to kind of highlight some of our cultural and identity-based student groups that we have, because we know that it's really important for students that hold kind of marginalized or underrepresented identities to just kind of come together and share some space. So we do have those student-led groups, but then we also have some campus-wide departments that kind of focus on that work as well. For example, our Office of Multicultural Affairs is a really big one that offers students to have, again, kind of that space, that community. And they also put on a lot of great programming. So from different celebrations to they have a connections leadership program. And that is something that a lot of students tap into. So just a thing to kind of highlight, to keep in mind that there are specific spaces for students carved out that hold minority statuses on our campus. Do want to take a little bit of time to talk about the application process, because I know it's quite complex, the US system, how to apply, when to apply, where to apply, all of these big questions that you might have. And so every school does it a little bit differently, But for Seattle University, if you're looking to get your undergraduate degree, whether that is as a first-year student, so someone that's currently finishing up high school or maybe has just finished up high school, or if you are a transfer student. So for example, you've already attended an institution that can be in your home country, that can be in the US, that can be in another country. There are a couple different ways. So as a first-year student, so someone that is transitioning out of high school into college, we are utilizing the Common Application. That is a platform for students to use to apply to different institutions. I'm sure you're going to hear the Common Application all throughout the day. That is a very common platform to use. So as part of the application, we also require your high school transcripts. So that is basically for us to get an academic record of how you have been performing throughout your high school, and for us just to get a sense of where you're at academically. We also asked for 2 letters of recommendation, one from a teacher and one from a counselor, even though a lot of you might not even have a counselor. I know when I went to school, I was born and raised in Germany. I went to school, I did not have a high school counselor. I recently talked to someone, I don't even know who I would have actually asked to write a letter of recommendation when I tried to apply. And so that was really difficult to navigate. So if you're having any issues with the letters of recommendation, we are flexible and we're trying to work with you. The other important piece that you do want to be aware of is that proof of English proficiency, because we need to make sure that your English skills are where they need to be successful in the classroom. So the most important pieces for your application is submitting the Common Application, submitting your official transcripts, so having that academic record in, and then that proof of English proficiency. We get to practice what we like to call a holistic review process. And that means that when I review an application, I actually get to look at every single piece of the application. The essay is going to be really important that you're going to be asked to write. There's an activity section that is also really important. So every single piece of the application that you submit is important, is going to be considered in the admissions process. For our transfer students, the application is going to be on our website. So that's the biggest difference. Also, the transcript is not going to be from your high school, but it's going to be from the institution that you are currently or you might have attended before. So it's the transcript from another institution of higher education. Again, that English proficiency is still applicable, but we have a couple different ways that you can meet that English proficiency requirement. So we have the TOEFL, we have the IELTS, we also accept the Duolingo score. If you're a transfer student and you have attended an institution in the US, you might have taken an English class already, and that is another way that we can meet that proof of English proficiency. We're obviously here, we are a resource, and we're happy to kind of help you along those questions that you might have, you and your agency partner, as you are working on the application. And with that, I do want to highlight that for the Common Application, we do have an application fee waiver. So if you are thinking about potentially applying for maybe the spring start term, which is coming up the end of March, we also have a summer intake, which is June 21st. But most students apply for our fall intake, which is going to be the end of September this year. If you are applying through the Common Application, you can use the hashtag SeattleU2026 fee waiver, and that way you do not have to pay for the application fee itself. Otherwise, that is a $60 application fee. So keep that in mind. I'm also happy to share that afterwards with anyone who's interested. And so just something to think about. A little bit about financial aid before I hand it over to Janet. Our estimated total cost of attendance is a little bit over $67,000 for this academic year. All accepted students are considered for merit-based scholarships. So there's no additional obligation As long as you are pursuing your first undergraduate degree, you are considered for that merit scholarship automatically. It is awarded at point of acceptance. So hopefully you're going to receive an admissions decision, a letter saying congratulations, you got accepted and you can expect X amount of money. That range is currently about $8,000 up to $25,000. I've seen all the way up to $28,000 this year. So that just gives you a sense of how much merit aid we're able to provide you with. That is based per year. So for all 4 years of your studies, if you're a transfer student, it might be for 2 years or 3 years, depending on how long you have left for your undergraduate degree. Another thing, these documents are not required for the admissions process, but are necessary if you are an F1 student. So that means if you are applying for a student visa, at some point you will have to submit a declaration of finances, which you can find on our website. You are also going to be sending, you're going to be sent an email if you have applied, and then we will also require a bank statement. Those are documents that we need in order for us to issue you an I-20 document, which you will need to apply for your visa. Again, those documents are not required for the admissions process, but it's just important for you to kind of be aware that those are materials that you eventually have to submit. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Obviously, I'd love to see your application come across my desk, but I will be handing it over to Janet, and she will be talking about our graduate programs at Seattle University.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Really appreciate you taking the time to introduce people to Seattle U. I'm going to focus entirely on the graduate side of the house. And as noted in the introduction, I am the Director of Graduate Admission at Seattle University, and am happy to have been here today. So let me just share my screen. I'm sorry, I didn't do that first. So. Almost there, I think. Let's see. I can see it on my side, but not yours. So let me try it one more time. All right. There we go. Hopefully you all can see. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see? Thank you so much. So once again, I'm going to be concentrating on the graduate side of the house with Seattle University. And I've been at the university for many decades, started out in the undergraduate admissions office and then transitioned over to the graduate admissions office about 20 years ago. So I've seen a lot of changes on campus, and I've seen a lot of changes in downtown Seattle that you see here. To give you a quick overview of just the graduate side of the house, not law and not anything undergrad, but we have over 2,200 graduate students. As of this fall, over 13% of those were international students. We offer 28 degree programs in 5 schools and colleges, 20 certificates, and they are both on campus, online, and a few hybrid options as well, particularly in COVID times. We were asked to give you a little bit of focus on where we are with STEM degree programs. So I'll give you very much the black and white of this information about our graduate degree programs. These are the graduate STEM degree programs, not certificates, but most of them are in our business school, but a few of them, most of them are in our College of Science and Engineering, but a few of them are in our business school. So accounting and analytics is a revision of the accounting program that this one is for accounting, people with accounting undergraduate degrees. Business analytics is a very popular program that's highly competitive. Computer science, it has a couple of different specialties that one is in data science and one is in software engineering. Our data science program is a combination of our math department and our computer science department, and it is our newest STEM eligible program. We have a Master of Science in Finance in our business school, and then 2 engineering programs that are full degree programs, mechanical engineering and structural engineering. Just to highlight all the graduate business programs, besides accounting and analytics and finance, we also have the professional accounting program for people who do not have an undergraduate accounting degree. We have several MBA options. The Bridge MBA is very popular with international students, in part because it does not require that you have had professional work experience. You can come right out of an undergraduate experience and be eligible for the Bridge. It is a cohort program, and it is done in about 15 months. So it's an intensive full-time program, daytime, and because it does not require that you have had work experience, they are building in certain requirements around professional development that help you gain some of that experience. The professional MBA is your classic MBA degree for people who do have work experience, and you need to have at least 2 years of full-time work experience. And then we've had a sport leadership program for a number of years. When it moved over to our business school, it was reimagined last summer into an MBA sport and entertainment management. And it was just sports leadership, and now it's sport and entertainment management. So those MBA options are all available. Besides the executive MBA program that is not usually one that international students are eligible to participate in. And then we have an online MBA option as well. We also can combine many of these degrees with each other. So these joint degrees are available in most of our programs. And we also have a lot of joint degrees with the law school and business degree programs. The business school also has 10 certificate programs that people will often add to their degree to give them more employability and increase their options. What's very popular is the accounting and finance option. People are doing that quite often. We have our graduate degrees in science and engineering. As I mentioned, these are all STEM programs. But what I wanted to mention, besides the computer science I mentioned before with its specializations, is that we have a popular computer science fundamental certificate. And it is an opportunity for people who do not have a background in computer science to take an intensive, what they call a boot camp on the front end to get you ready for the certificate. That boot camp has 2 classes that are done in 1 quarter, and Seattle University is on a quarter system. And then you can participate in the certificate, and those credits enable you to be eligible for the Master of Science in Computer Science program. So the certificate is for really degree changers, people who maybe have a background in something else and want to transition into computer science. The structural engineering, the mechanical engineering program that you see here is a combination of mechanical engineering and business, and is helping people with mechanical engineering background become leaders and project leaders and leaders of other workers in the system. So it's a combination of mechanical engineering and leadership skills that you're going to find in business classes. And structural engineering requires that you have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering or something equivalent. This is a view of our library and learning commons, and the gathering place in front of it. You'll find many of the activities that Doreen was talking about. A lot of the community things are happening on that plaza. One of the things that we wanted to emphasize, and just to kind of build upon what you heard Doreen talking about with some of the international application information. We have deadlines that are tied to each quarter of entry, but sometimes the deadline for your program might be earlier. So we want you to pay attention to these international deadlines, but we also want you to pay even more attention to the program deadlines because they may very well be earlier. And not every one of our graduate programs admit every quarter. Some of them are once a year in the fall or once a year in the summer. Some admit twice a year. It really does depend on the program. And you will find on our site and working with your agency here, they're keeping track of which programs are admitting which quarter. Financial assistance on the graduate side is something that I know people have a lot of interest in, and we are unable to offer full funding for our students, but there are opportunities that do exist. Programs have scholarships that are not need-based scholarships, so there are merit-based scholarships, and some of them may require an additional application form. That's going to vary from one program to the next, but that additional application form is usually embedded inside the application for admission. So if that's a requirement, you will see that pop up when you indicate an interest in financial aid. Some of our students work on campus, and you can do that on an F1 visa, up to 20 hours a week of work on campus. And we also have, usually by the time you get to your second year, there are external internships, and they're highly sought after and highly competitive. And there are internship fairs and other places in career engagement and placement offices that help you find those internships, the all-important internships. I wanted to touch briefly on, we can't have a conversation without talking about COVID. And there have been many things that have changed in our lives when COVID came into the picture. But one of the things that we were trying to do is make some accommodations on the front end to keep people around the world able to keep planning and applying for programs and thinking about their future. So you heard Doreen say that there were application fee waivers, and they exist for us as well. And those fees are waived through fall 2022 entry. We don't yet know if it will extend beyond this coming fall, but we will keep that posted on our website so that you are aware of the latest on that information. But right now it extends through entry in September of 2022. We made decisions on the front end to start accepting unofficial academic documents, and because it was impossible for people in the early days to be able to get official documents. But we have decided to keep that, retain that ability to accept unofficial documents for admission purposes. And then if you're admitted, you will be required to submit an official document at that time. And so that's transcripts, mark sheets, degree certificates, all of those sorts of things we can accept unofficially. We can also accept unofficial, as Doreen said, IELTS, Duolingo scores, because we can verify those scores online. We have suspended admissions tests, the GRE, the GMAT. Those tests have been suspended again through fall 2022, unless you graduated from a 3-year degree program. Then we're going to require that you take the GRE or the GMAT, or if you graduated from an institution that was not graded, then we would require one of those tests as well. And you've heard us talk about Duolingo a couple of times, but we only started accepting Duolingo tests for English proficiency at the start of COVID, and we are in the second year of a pilot with Duolingo. We talked about the fee waivers and accepting unofficial documents. And one of the things that you can talk with your counselor about is that your unofficial documents can be submitted with your application so that it appears all at one time with your application. There's some things that they're going to do on your behalf, but you can also submit many of these, attach them to your application itself. And then, of course, what I was just talking about with the test optional policy is if you look at that last paragraph there, even though we are suspending the requirement for the GMAT or the GRE, you may find that your application is strengthened by the presence of those scores. If you feel like your GPA is right on the margin, or if you feel like you want to make yourself more competitive and you feel like your GMAT and GRE scores will help you, we will use them in the review of your file. We'll use whatever you submit, even if it's optional. So you probably have seen these opportunities now for taking these tests online, but that all happened in the course of these COVID months and years. So that's a step in the right direction. Why am I pandering? Putting a picture of Thailand here and a graduate student with a Seattle University shirt. I wanted to make sure that you were aware that our business school has offered study abroad trips, and this one happened to be to Thailand some years ago. This has not happened in the last couple of years, but they hope to bring those back. People look forward to these study abroad trips, and they are meeting with business and industry and community leaders when they go on these trips. So came across the one from Thailand and thought that you would appreciate that that was not photoshopped. that MBA student was on part of a study tour. So Doreen talked a little bit about the English proficiency requirements. And these are the scores that are required for each of the tests that we accept. You'll see this ELCB option. And what is that? The English Language and Cultural Bridge Program is coursework that you may have to take on the front end of your program if you enter with a score that falls in this range, as opposed to the range for regular admission. So it's an avenue for you to still be admitted to Seattle University, but it could mean 1 to 3 more classes that you would add on the front end of your courses. They'll do placement testing on day 1 to determine how many of those classes you will need to take. If you do not meet at least the bridge, the ELCB eligibility, then you're not able to be considered until you can provide higher scores. Exceptions for English proficiency requirement may be of interest to you. There are some people who can have automatic waivers if they are people who've earned degrees in these countries, and advanced degrees or bachelor's or advanced degrees in these countries, because they're primarily English-speaking countries. We also have the opportunity to waive the English proficiency testing requirement if you can testify with official documents that the medium of instruction for you was in English. And then lastly, if there's some other reason that you think is able to justify you qualifying for special circumstances, then you can send an email waiver request to me, and then I will shepherd that through the process. We are now doing credential evaluation in-house. And so that is at no cost to you as the applicant. You must provide us with these academic documents, including transcripts, mark sheets, degree certificates. And once we have all that information, then your file will be complete and ready for evaluation. If you have already obtained an evaluation from another agency, particularly if it's this NACES, that NACES, if they are a NACES member, we're happy to accept those scores. We just need to be able to have an official copy of those scores being sent to us. We can start with an unofficial, but we will need an official copy. So you need to have requested that in enough time for us to receive an official copy. This is a student that had an internship with Amazon and then was hired on as a full-time employee. And because Seattle is home to so many large companies, Amazon, of course, is a major one, but Microsoft and Boeing and PACCAR and many, many others that are conducting business internationally, our students have the opportunity for some exciting internships and the possibility of full-time employment afterwards. Visa requirements, Doreen talked about those, and the only one that I would add is that the credit requirements for us at the graduate level are different than it is for undergraduate. For us, 2 3-credit hour classes is considered full-time. So 6 credits may not sound like very much, but in a quarter system, those 10 weeks can go really fast. So 2 classes is considered a full-time student. If any of you are able to attend on an H4 or an L2, then you can be able to attend on 1 class a quarter if you need to space it out a little longer. Doreen talked about the Declaration of Finance form, so I won't spend any more time with that. There are occasionally questions that come up around visa or CVIS related questions, and we have Doreen is a DSO. Our director of our International Student Center is the primary one on campus, and he can be reached at the number that you see there and the email address. The Stay Connected page we created on the front end of COVID. And as new things develop over time, even if we get to suspend this page, we will say goodbye to the Stay Connected page. But in the meantime, it is our place where we are capturing all of the current information we have about COVID. We are in our winter quarter right now, and we started out this first month of the quarter remotely, and we go back to campus-based instruction on Monday. So things are progressing in the right direction.
มหาวิทยาลัยซีแอตเทิลอยู่ใจกลางเมืองซีแอตเทิลนะคะในรัฐวอชิงตันในที่นี้คือรัฐที่อยู่ทางตะวันตกนะคะไม่ใช่วอชิงตันดีซีทางตะวันออกที่เป็นเมืองหลวงนะคะอันนี้ก็จะอยู่ทางฝั่งตะวันตกนะคะแล้วก็เป็นเมืองที่อยู่ทางเหนืออยู่ห่างจากแคนาดา2 ชั่วโมงนะคะที่นี่ก็เป็นที่นิยมสำหรับนักศึกษาต่างชาติมากเนื่องจากว่ามี headquarters ของบริษัทใหญ่ๆมากมายนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็น Amazon Microsoft Boeing อย่างนี้เป็นต้นนะคะก็เป็นที่นิยมค่อนข้างมากสำหรับ undergraduate นะคะคือปริญญาตรีเนี่ยก็เน้นที่ class size ที่เล็กนะคะก็เป็นความพิเศษของมหาวิทยาลัยที่นี่นะคะเป็นมหาวิทยาลัยเอกชนของ Jesuit ที่สำคัญอีกอย่างหนึ่งก็คือของที่ Seattle U เนี่ยจะมี direct entry นะคะหมายความว่าถ้าเราเข้าไปปี 1แล้วเนี่ยเราการันตีแน่นอนว่าเราได้เรียนต่อในเมเจอร์ที่เราต้องการนะคะไม่ต้องไปรอลุ้นปีแล้วก็สมัครช่วงนี้นะคะก็มีข่าวดีนิดนึงคือมีเรื่อง application fee waiver นะคะปกติเนี่ยจะต้องมีค่าสมัคร$60นะคะแต่ช่วงนี้ก็ไม่มีtuition fee นะคะคือค่าเล่าเรียนเนี่ยตามปกติแล้วตอนนี้จะอยู่ที่ปีละ$49,335นะคะมีค่ากินอยู่อีก13,000นะคะรวมอยู่ต่อปีน่าจะอยู่67,000นะคะแต่ข่าวดีก็คือมี scholarship ให้นะคะก็จะเป็น scholarship แบบอัตโนมัตินะคะจำนวนของทุนตอนนี้ก็จะอยู่ที่ประมาณ8,000 ถึง 25,000 US dollars นะคะขึ้นอยู่กับคุณวุฒิคุณสมบัติของนักศึกษาแต่ละคนที่ได้รับนะคะคือคนไหนที่ได้รับการตอบรับก็จะได้ทุนอัตโนมัติไปด้วยนะคะแต่จำนวนของแต่ละคนจะไม่เท่ากันนะคะมหาวิทยาลัย Seattle U เนี่ยเป็นระบบควอเตอร์นะคะระบบควอเตอร์ก็คือหมายความว่าเทอมละ10 สัปดาห์นะคะปีหนึ่งมี3ควอเตอร์แล้วก็บวกกับอีก1ซัมเมอร์นะคะจะเป็น4เทอมไม่ใช่เป็น2+1แบบ semester นะคะมาถึงgraduate นะคะระดับปริญญาโทนะคะระดับปริญญาโทก็มีนักศึกษาต่างชาติค่อนข้างหลากหลายนะคะมีนักศึกษา international เนี่ยประมาณ 13.2% นะคะมีดีกรีโปรแกรมเนี่ย28ดีกรีด้วยกันที่เป็นที่สนใจของนักศึกษาไทยมากๆส่วนใหญ่ก็จะเป็นหลักสูตรที่เข้าข่าย STEM นะคะหลักสูตรที่เข้าข่าย STEM ทำไมถึงเป็นที่สนใจนะคะที่เป็นที่สนใจของนักศึกษาต่างชาติก็เพราะว่าหลักสูตร STEM เนี่ยทำให้เราสามารถที่จะขอ OPT ปกติเนี่ยหลังจากที่เราจบการศึกษาแล้วนะคะเราจะสามารถขออยู่ทำงานต่อได้เป็นเวลา1 ปีนะคะแต่ถ้าในกรณีที่จบสาย STEM มาเนี่ยเราจะได้เพิ่มอีก2 ปีนะคะจะเป็น1+2ก็เป็น3 ปีด้วยกันนะคะหลักสูตร STEM ของระดับปริญญาโทก็จะมี Accounting Analytics นะคะ Business Analytics Computer Science Data Science นะคะแล้วก็ Finance ที่เป็น MS นะคะแล้วนอกจากนั้นก็จะมีวิศวะที่เป็น Mechanical Structural แบบนี้นะคะพวกนี้จะเข้าข่าย STEM ที่เป็น non STEM ก็มีอีกเช่นกันนะคะเดี๋ยวเข้าไปดูกันหรือว่าสอบถามมาหลังไมค์ได้ทีหลังนะคะขั้นตอนการสมัครนะคะส่วนใหญ่ก็ดูหลากหลายนะคะก็ดูทั้ง transcript เกรดเฉลี่ยอะไรต่ออะไรนะคะแล้วก็ที่สำคัญก็คือพวก essay จดหมาย recommendation พวกนี้นะคะแต่ถ้าติดขัดตรงไหนยังไงเนี่ยก็ติดต่อสอบถามมาได้นะคะสำหรับโปรแกรม MBA เนี่ย หลายคนจะติดเรื่อง work experience นะคะที่ Seattle U เนี่ยถ้าในกรณีที่ไม่มี experience 2 ปีนะคะก็สามารถจะเข้าเป็น bridge MBA ได้นะคะไม่จำเป็นต้องมีประสบการณ์ทำงานมาก่อนนะคะเป็นหลักสูตร15 เดือนด้วยกันนะคะนอกจากนั้นก็ยังมีถ้ามีประสบการณ์2 ปีมาแล้วเนี่ยเราก็สามารถเข้าเป็น professional MBA ได้นะคะนอกจากนั้นก็ยังมีสาขาทางด้าน sport and entertainment management ด้วยนะคะสำหรับนักศึกษาที่ไม่ได้สนใจเป็นปริญญานะคะก็จะมีหลักสูตรประกาศนียบัตรนะคะพวกนี้สั้นๆนะคะก็จะสำหรับนักศึกษาที่ไม่ได้จบตรงสายอยากจะเปลี่ยนสายเป็นต้นนะคะการ submit application นะคะควรจะทำไม่ต่ำกว่า6 เดือนก่อนเทอมที่เราจะเริ่มเรียนนะคะเมื่อกี้อย่างที่ขึ้นในPowerPoint นะคะก็เห็นแล้วถ้า fall เนี่ยก็ต้องเป็น1 April ต้องจบสิ้นกระบวนการแล้วนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นใครที่สนใจที่จะเข้าเรียนเทอม fall เนี่ยตอนนี้ต้องเริ่มสมัครแล้วนะคะเพราะว่าวันสุดท้ายเลยเนี่ยคือ April บางครั้งเรามีเอกสารต่างๆที่ยังไม่ครบที่ยังเสียเวลาอยู่นะคะนอกจากนั้น สำหรับปริญญาโทนะคะทางด้าน financial เนี่ยจะไม่ได้มีทุนแบบ undergrad นะคะก็ส่วนใหญ่จะเป็นโปรแกรม scholarship ซึ่งเป็น merit ก็หมายความว่าขึ้นอยู่กับคุณสมบัติความสามารถของเรานะคะไม่ได้ขึ้นอยู่กับเรื่องทุนทรัพย์นะคะแล้วก็มีเรื่องการทำงานในแคมปัสซึ่งสามารถทำงานได้20 ชั่วโมงต่อสัปดาห์นะคะนอกจากนั้นก็คือส่วนใหญ่แล้วที่ขึ้นนักศึกษาปริญญาโทที่ขึ้นปี 2ก็สามารถที่จะไปมี internship กับสถานประกอบการข้างนอกมหาวิทยาลัยได้นะคะตรงนี้ก็เป็นการทำงานที่ได้ค่าตอบแทนนะคะของ graduate ก็เหมือนกันนะคะมี Fee Waiver เหมือนกันไม่ต้องเสียค่าสมัครปีนี้นะคะแล้วก็ข่าวดีก็คือเนื่องจากว่า มีภาวะโควิดนะคะก็ข้อสอบหลายอย่างเนี่ยก็ละเว้นไปสำหรับปีนี้นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นคนไหนที่ตั้งใจจะสมัครแล้วก็ยังลังเลอยู่นะคะปีนี้ต้องรีบสมัครนะคะเพราะว่าGRE GMAT ปีนี้ไม่ต้องใช้นะคะคือถ้ามีได้ก็ดีแต่ว่าไม่ได้ใช้นะคะเอกสารต่างๆเพราะถ้ายังมีไม่ครบก็ยังพออนุโลมได้เฉพาะปีนี้ปีเดียวนะคะนอกจากนั้นเนี่ยทาง Seattle U เนี่ยจะมีหลักสูตรที่เขาเรียกว่าELCB นะคะสำหรับนักศึกษาที่คะแนนภาษาอังกฤษยังไม่ถึงนะคะแต่ขาดนิดหน่อยอะไรอย่างเงี้ยนะคะก็สามารถจะไปเรียนตัวนี้ก่อนเข้าได้นะคะอันนี้ก็จะเป็นสรุปสั้นๆน้องๆนักศึกษาแล้วก็ผู้ปกครองท่านไหนสนใจจะสอบถามเพิ่มเติมนะคะหลังจากงานก็ติดต่อมาได้นะคะตามช่องทางเหล่านี้นะคะแล้วก็อย่างที่แจ้งไปนะคะอย่าลืมแอป Line Open Chat ของเราด้วยนะคะเพื่อติดตามข่าวสารต่างๆของเรา